those of Enugu. He was the pride of his mother, the hope of his father, the model Christian of his village. From childhood, he was baptized in the waters of religion. At 5 years old, his mother would drag him out of bed at 5 a.m., rubbing his sleepy eyes, whispering, "Chike, wake up. Morning devotion cannot wait." By 10, he could quote verses faster than he could recite multiplication tables. By 20, he was the one people called Brother Chike, the one who carried the Bible bigger than his textbooks, the one who shouted the loudest "Amen" at every revival. Everyone respected him. Everyone admired him. But inside, Chike was empty. He prayed, yet he felt nothing. He fasted, yet his character did not change. He served in the choir, yet after service he went home bitter, angry, restless. He believed he was spiritual, but in truth, he was only religious, drowning in rituals, starving in spirit. Religion became a performance for Chike. On Sundays, he was a saint. On Mondays, he was a wolf. In the church, he lifted hands in worship, eyes closed, tears rolling. In the market, those same hands adjusted scales to cheat a customer of 1 mudu of gari. He gave offerings he could not afford, believing God was a banker, and one day the dividends would rain down in miracles. He judged anyone who didn't shout and dance like him. If you didn't come to church 3 times a week, he said, "Brother, your salvation is at risk." But let me tell you something, the louder Chike shouted "fire," the colder his heart became. One day, his colleague at work asked him, "Chike, why do you always preach, yet you are the angriest man in the office?" That question cut deep, but Chike brushed it aside. Religion had taught him to defend, not to reflect. He thought shouting at demons was enough. He thought fasting was the same as transformation. He thought carrying the Bible was the same as living the Word. But every night, when he removed the mask, he faced his truth. No peace. No joy. No growth. Religion had made him look holy in the eyes of men, but inside, he was still a child, chained, blind, thirsty. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Sunday evening, after another fiery service. The pastor had shouted, "Empty your pockets for God will multiply it 100-fold." And Chike, desperate for breakthrough, had dropped his last naira note. He walked home hungry, but hopeful. When he entered the house, he heard sobs. His younger sister, Adiz, was in the corner crying. "What is it?" he asked. She looked up, her eyes red. "Brother, I cannot go to school tomorrow. They said if I don't bring my fees, I should not enter class." Chike froze. "But I gave everything to God today. The pastor said God will provide." Adiz shook her head. "Brother, does your God only live in church? Can't he live here, in this house? You give him money every Sunday, but when will he pay my school fees?" Those words pierced Chike deeper than any sermon ever had. That night, he could not sleep. He tossed. He turned. He asked himself questions he had never dared ask. Have I been serving God or serving man? Do I live for love or for fear? Am I spiritual or just religious? And for the first time in his life, he admitted the truth. He was lost. Chike withdrew from the noise. He stopped attending endless vigils and crusades. Not because he hated God, but because he wanted to meet God in silence. He began taking long walks by the river in his town. There, he listened to the rustle of leaves, the songs of birds, the whisper of the wind. For the first time, he felt a presence, not in the shouting, not in the drums, not in the offering basket, but in the stillness. He started reading not only his Bible, but also books on wisdom, love, and the lives of saints who truly walked with God. Slowly, Chike began to see. Spirituality is not in rituals. It is in consciousness. God is not impressed by noise. God looks for truth. Religion had made him memorize verses. Spirituality invited him to live them. So he began small. He apologized to a neighbor he had cheated years ago. He chose to tell the truth at work, even when it cost him profit. He started giving, not to impress his pastor, but to genuinely help his sister, his neighbors, the poor. And every night, instead of loud prayers, he would sit quietly and whisper, "God, teach me how to live." He discovered that spirituality was not about being perfect, it was about being authentic. It was about living in love, walking in peace, and carrying light wherever you go. For the first time, Chike felt free. He no longer chased blessings, he became a blessing. He no longer shouted for miracles, he became a miracle to others. Years passed, and people began to notice. The same Chike who was once called Brother Chike, the religious man, was now called Chike, the man of peace. In the marketplace, people said, "If you want honest trade, go to Chike." In the community, people said, "If you want wise counsel, sit with Chike." His business grew, not by miracle alerts, but by integrity and trust. His family flourished, not by empty offerings, but by love and responsibility. And most of all, his heart was calm. He still prayed, but now his prayers were not a performance. They were whispers of gratitude, confessions of weakness, songs of hope. Religion had once chained him. Spirituality set him free. Conclusion. Friends, many of us are like Chike. We confuse being religious with being spiritual. We think if we shout louder, God will hear us faster. We think if we give bigger, God will love us more. We think if we perform harder, we will look holier. But hear me. Religion is man reaching for God with empty rituals. Spirituality is God living through man with truth and love. Religion fills buildings. Spirituality fills hearts. Religion builds walls of judgment. Spirituality builds bridges of compassion. Religion is a mask. Spirituality is the face behind the mask. So I ask you today, are you religious or are you spiritual? Are you chasing rituals or living in truth? Are you performing for men or walking with God? Because in the end, it is not how loud you shouted amen that will matter. It is how deeply you lived in truth, how fully you loved, and how faithfully you shone your light in this dark world. Be like Chike, not the man lost in religion, but the man reborn in spirit.